Tesla China is subtly flexing the MIC Model 3's stellar build quality. Like SpaceX Starship development, it almost seems like Tesla is creating its own space race to get the factories competing on quality as well as speed. This could be very good for the company if the products improve in both respects. Perhaps they should bring that tech to Fremont. There's an excellent documentary on Netflix called American Factory. It follows a Chinese company as they open a factory in America, and is an eye-opening display of the discipline and pride that Chinese factory workers possess. This comes at the cost of working and living conditions for the workers, but I earned a newfound respect for Chinese production abilities. I expected this scenario to happen, and I would wager that Chinese factories will continue to be the gold standard of build quality for the foreseeable future. Hopefully that will translate to improved build quality in the US and around the world. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. With that said, I think profits will skyrocket once we see Shanghai producing at maximum capacity. Elon is big on the economies of scale theory, and this can only help bring down the cost of car production for Tesla. 2 months ago I wrote, China produces industrial engineers like the USA produces lawyers, so I'm hoping that learnings will be brought back to USA. Also, I think the USA too often gives up on students who aren't college-bound. Hold on. You mean to tell me that a Model 3 built in a shiny new Gigafactory, 2 years after the first production models rolled out of a tent in Fremont are of superior build quality? Incredible. Car manufacturing workers in China has this underdog mentality. They fear it's not good enough and that's embarrassing. They would raise the standards by a notch or two so when they do screw up it's still within limits. Net results are better quality on average. What an irony that now made in China means quality and made in USA means shoddy workmanship. How the tides have turned. Hopefully future European Tesla Model 3s will be made in China before being made in Germany, Berlin. Many reading this are likely too young to remember when made in Japan meant cheap Asian junk, and that lingered well past the time that was no longer true. Analysts thought Toyota would fall flat on their faces trying to convince Americans that they could build a luxury sedan that would top the best from the US and Europe at a big discount on price. Now, Lexus is the standard for luxury build quality while nearly every non-Asian brand, including Tesla, are bought in spite of lower build quality. You mean it won't have all the creaks and rattles that gives my Model 3 character? I wouldn't be surprised. The Chinese and Asians in general are really meticulous with their work. Honestly, my December 2019 build Model 3 has panel gaps just like the ones in the pics in this article. Tesla Audi website is phone cancer. The actual article seems to be basing this claim on just 2 vehicles, aka anecdotal evidence. One was a pre-ramp build that was shown to a reporter by Tesla. Of course, they'd pick an immaculate example. The other one was an early ramp delivery that happened to be of good quality. I don't think anyone should attempt to draw conclusions about the overall quality of Model 3s built in the Chinese factory from just 2 data points. I got a mid-ramp US-built Model 3 with no panel gaps. That doesn't mean that everyone else before and after me did, as well. Just curious. I was really hoping Tesla would have fixed the build quality issues for the Model 3 by now. Guess it's just inherent to their manufacturing process with American workers. Does the Model S also suffer from these same build quality issues? Are the new U.S Model 3s of worse quality? The quality improvement is sort of expected. It's a brand new assembly line with brand new tooling and all of the lessons they've learned from their other assembly lines. But as many manufacturers have proven with Mexico, when you already have very high build quality, Something about Mexico drags it down, particularly when it comes to reliability. Not sure why, but it happens, despite high-quality control. Am I a bad person if I'd rather have a MIC Model 3 versus an American Model 3? I totally believe China can build cars better than Fremont. You guys act like there aren't American car factories that push out huge numbers of cars with high quality. The STIQC thing is pretty much just Tesla, especially at their price point. Also, car dealerships are usually on the hook for fixing those minor things before delivery, and Tesla doesn't really have those. Damn, do I want an M3, but the current US wait time of 8-10 weeks is pushing me away. Keep building, learning, I'll have one eventually. ITT, pro-China propaganda, disrespect for labor safety standards, borderline fascist calls for purpose and virtue as if all employees should be working toward one singular nationalistic goal. I'd love to have a Model 3, but I really am starting to think this Tesla thing is becoming a cult. There's some effing weird people in this thread. I definitely feel for PPL who have had numerous service build quality issues. I've had a few myself, but nothing major and no regrets. On the bright side, these issues allowed me to experience Tesla's mobile service. Both the service itself and the technicians have been excellent. That Chrome seam is _perfect _. Wow. I love how China doesn't F around and just gets S done. The apartment near my house has been in permitting stages for 1.5 years now. Zero physical progress. It's still a dirt lot. Any indication on how deliveries are going in China? Haven't heard or seen much on social media or elsewhere since the public delivery event of a few vehicles. I really wish companies would just act like China was North Korea. Well, China does make the phone or computer you're reading this article on. Much better than mine I got from Fremont lol. Highly recommend watching the Netflix documentary, American Factory. Could I get an imported Model 3 in the US? The manufacturing philosophies and attitudes in China are best summarized in the Netflix documentary American Factory. If you watch this, you'll understand the cultural differences and how they affect production in general. I actually want an MIC Model 3. My American one isn't screwed together very well, but the design and engineering is amazing. This reminds me of Grand Seiko. Seiko had two of their factories compete on building the most accurate automatic movements. And the result is the most accurate movement still until today, the spring drive. I hope this drives positive competition and outcome for Tesla as a whole. It kind of makes sense. Labor being much cheaper, they probably don't have to be as conservative on the headcount. On one documentary I learned that there are a lot of job positions in China we could never afford to have in Europe or the US because labor is just too expensive. One of the example I heard were process improvement engineer. Another factor is Tesla's factory in Fremont, with the local government maintaining very tight control on housing stock, making the place very expensive to live in, and forcing companies like Tesla to pay higher wages. In the end, I won't be surprised to learn that quality out of the China factory ends up being a lot higher. Meanwhile on our X hardly anything lines up or is planar, including the front back door handles, which is really noticeable when they are misaligned. Face with tears of joy. What's stopping them from expanding and eventually importing MIC cars to the US if they meet all the standards, have better quality and margins? Are there tariffs? I'm getting the sneaking suspicion that Americans are not the undisputed kings of everything like is often claimed. The build quality of the Chinese-made Teslas may be superior, but the people working there are probably 99% ethnic Chinese, while the workforce in the Californian factory is multi-ethnic and diverse. Surely that more than makes up for a couple of non-life-threatening defects. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to hear more of the best posts.